You can open your eyes, Scott. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's quite...
I bet you know how the Marvel Cinematic Universe is gearing up to introduce the X-Men? Well, there's been a lot of buzz lately, especially with the new Disney Plus series X-Men 97 shining the spotlight on Cyclops. You might remember him being played by James Marsden and Tye Sheridan in those live-action flicks. They did a great job, but let's face it, they didn't get the screen time they deserved. Back in the day, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine stole the show, leaving poor Cyclops in the dust. And even in the younger X-Men movies, they were more focused on Mystique and the gang than on our boy Scott Summers. But hey, thanks to X-Men 97, Cyclops is getting his moment to shine again, and fans are loving it. Now let's talk casting for the MCU. Who do you think could bring Cyclops to life in the best way possible? Also, stick around till the end, because we're also diving into why X-Men 97 is finally getting Cyclops' powers right after 61 years. But first, let's start with the actor Dylan O'Brien. Dylan O'Brien is one of those actors who just screams superhero material, right? Whether you're talking Marvel or DC, fans can't help but fantasize about him in those spandex suits. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Just look at his track record. From The Maze Runner to a bunch of other projects, he's always brought this magnetic energy to the screen. In The Maze Runner, he was like this natural-born leader, fighting tooth and nail for his buddies. Sound familiar? That's basically Cyclops in a nutshell. Plus, O'Brien's no slouch when it comes to action scenes. He's got that knack for pulling off those kinetic fights, which would be perfect for leading the charge as the head honcho of the X-Men. With him on board, Cyclops would be more than just a one-dimensional hero. He'd be the real deal in the MCU. Moving on, we have Jacob Elordi. Now imagine Jacob Elordi, who's a towering 6'5", stepping into the shoes of Cyclops. Talk about a physically imposing presence. This guy's on fire in Hollywood right now. He's already taken on the role of the legendary Elvis and nailed it. And get this, at just 26, he could be our Cyclops for years to come. Plus, he'd be joining the ranks of Euphoria stars making their mark in superhero flicks like Zendaya in the MCU Spider-Man movies. What's cool about Elordi is his calm intensity on screen. He's got this vibe that would totally suit Scott Summers, making him look cool, collected, but always ready to kick some villain butt. And let's not forget, he'd be the perfect match for whoever they cast as the new Wolverine. These two would make quite the dynamic duo in the MCU. At the forefront of the list is none other than Henry Cavill. This guy's practically the poster child for Cyclops fan casts in the MCU right now. I mean, come on, he's already rocked the cape as Superman, arguably one of the most iconic superheroes ever. Now that he's done with the DCEU and there's a new face for the Man of Steel, Cavill's free to jump ship to the MCU. And let's be real, there's no shortage of roles he could crush, but Cyclops? That could be something special. After kinda getting sidelined in the X-Men movies, it's about time Cyclops got his moment in the spotlight, especially in the MCU. Casting Cavill would be a bold move, signaling that Cyclops is gonna be a big deal moving forward. I mean, Cavill wouldn't just jump from Superman to the MCU for a bit part, right? And let's not forget his chops in fight scenes. Whether he's flying through the air or swinging a sword as Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher, Cavill's got that action hero vibe down pat. So yeah, he'd definitely bring some serious heat to Cyclops in the MCU. Now, let's discuss how X-Men 97 finally gets Cyclops' powers right for the first time in 61 years. X-Men 97 is like a love letter to fans of the 1990s X-Men the Animated Series, picking up right where it left off back in 97. And guess what? They're finally giving Cyclops the spotlight he deserves. In this revival, Cyclops isn't just a background character. He's front and center, leading the pack with his iconic optic blasts. And let me tell you, they've really nailed his powers this time around. It's like they finally cracked the code on how to do them justice. From his debut in Marvel Comics' The X-Men #1 to his role in the original animated series and the Fox movies, Cyclops has always been a key player. And with the MCU gearing up for their own X-Men flicks, we're crossing our fingers that they take a cue from X-Men 97 and keep Cyclops' powers true to form, It's about time he gets the respect he deserves. It's time to set the record straight. Cyclops' optic blasts are not about heat vision, folks. In the X-Men universe, Cyclops rocks this mutant ability where he can shoot out these intense beams from his eyes. But here's the kicker. These bad boys aren't all about heat. Nope, they're all about packing a punch with pure kinetic force. Picture this. Cyclops' eyes act like these crazy apertures for this non-thermal energy, kind of like a laser but without the sizzle. When he lets loose, it's not about frying things up, it's about delivering a serious wallop. We're talking about concussive blasts that can shatter stuff and send baddies flying with some serious oomph. So next time you see Cyclops in action, remember, it's all about the kinetic force, just like how they've been showing it off in X-Men 97. The mysteries of X-Men 97. One of the intriguing plot points revolves around Rogue and Magneto's relationship, with Magneto oddly immune to Rogue's power-absorbing abilities. In the Marvel Comics, Cyclops' optic blasts are explained as stemming from an alternate dimension, with his eyes acting as a sort of gateway. To control these potent blasts, Cyclops relies on specialized ruby quartz visors or glasses, and his powers are constantly active and potentially hazardous if unchecked. Finally, X-Men 97 is giving us the real deal, showcasing the versatility of these concussive blasts for the first time. In the premiere episode, To Me, My X-Men, Cyclops demonstrates this versatility by directing his blasts at the ground to propel himself backward across the battlefield. And in Episode 2, Mutant Liberation Begins, he uses them to slow his descent while falling through the air, essentially cushioning his landing. These scenes are presented with deliberate focus, almost as if Marvel is emphasizing this more accurate portrayal of Cyclops' powers. It's surprising, but even in the pages of Marvel Comics, Cyclops' powers have sometimes been portrayed with inconsistencies, straying from their established nature as kinetic force. Occasionally, there have been instances where his optic blasts were mistakenly depicted as having heat-related properties, rather than their true concussive nature. And let's not forget how his abilities have sometimes been limited or not fully explored, lacking the dynamic control seen in X-Men 97. Take, for example, an early X-Men comic where Cyclops hesitates to use his optic blasts to propel himself into the air, fearing the landing. But hold up. Why couldn't he just adjust the intensity and direction of his blasts to soften his landing? It's moments like these that highlight the occasional oversight or misinterpretation of Cyclops' powers, even within the comic book realm. Now let's talk about the Fox X-Men movies. As much as we love them, they didn't quite do justice to Cyclops, did they? His optic blasts were often portrayed ambiguously, lacking the depth we see in the comics. And don't even get me started on his visor design. It left a lot to be desired. Plus, Cyclops often felt held back, focusing more on rescuing Jean than fully unleashing his power. In the end, Fox's X-Men franchise missed the mark on capturing the essence of Cyclops as the iconic X-Men leader. Thankfully, X-Men 97 is stepping up to the plate, finally giving Cyclops the spotlight and proper portrayal he deserves. Let's hope the MCU's X-Men movie continues this trend and does justice to Cyclops' character and powers in the live-action movies as well. Well, that's it for today. Which aspect of Cyclops' character or powers are you most excited to see explored in the upcoming MCU X-Men movie? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, true believers.